Strictly speaking, a serial killer is someone who murders at least two people in separate events that occur at different times. While serial murder is not formalized by any legal code, the crimes of serial killers have often been seized on by the media and the public consciousness, especially in cases where there are many victims or the murders are carried out in gruesome fashion. The following list explores some of the most notorious serial killers the world has ever known. So in this video, we are going to discuss top 5 serial killers of all time. So the video is going to be thrilling, so make sure to stick till the end. Before starting the video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Number 5. Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman, also known as Dr. Death, is believed to have killed at least 218 patients, although the total is quite likely closer to 250. This doctor practiced in London, and between 1972 and 1998 worked in 2 different offices, killing all the while. He wasn't caught until a red flag was raised by several people, including an undertaker who was surprised by the sheer number of cremation certificates Shipman was a part of, along with the fact that most of the cases were elderly women found to have died in bed not at night, but rather during the day. Police mishandled the investigation, and Shipman kept killing until he got greedy and tried to concoct a will for a victim that named him beneficiary, which led the victim's daughter to become suspicious. He was finally convicted in 2000 and committed suicide while in prison in 2004. Harold Frederick Shipman, known to acquaintances as Fred Shipman, was an English general practitioner and serial killer. He is considered to be one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history, with an estimated 250 victims. Number 4. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown, personas he had devised. A construction worker, known by his suburban neighbors as outgoing, John Wayne Gacy was involved in politics and even acted as a clown for birthday parties. He was no clown. Gacy came under suspicion in 1978 when a 15-year-old boy, last seen with him, went missing. That wasn't the only time families of missing boys had pointed fingers at Gacy, but it was the first time authorities took them seriously. Soon after, a search warrant granted police access to the Gacy home, with the smell of nearly 30 bodies buried in a 4-foot crawl space under his home. He was convicted of 33 counts of murder, with additional counts of rape and torture, and was executed by lethal injection in 1994. However, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on various true stories. The film is based on the shocking crimes of post-war America in nationwide news cycles. Hooper witnessed Elmer Wayne Henley's arrest when he was younger. Henley was a serial killer who participated in the abduction murder. Number 3. H.H. Holmes. Chicago has had its share of killers, but perhaps none more haunting than H.H. Holmes, the pharmacist who turned a hotel into a torture castle. Ahead of the 1893 World's Fair, Holmes moved to Chicago and started outfitting a 3-story hotel with all manner of nefarious contraptions, including gas lines, secret passages and trapdoors, hallways to dead ends, chutes to the basement, soundproofed padding, and torture devices strewn throughout a maze. The gas allowed Holmes to knock out his guests before the worst of what was to happen came next, often on his surgical tables. He then burned the bodies in the building's furnace, selling skeletons to medical schools and running life insurance scams. In all, he copped to more than 30 murders, found only after a fellow scammer turned him in for falling short on a financial agreement, before he was hanged in 1896. Of all the deranged serial killers on this list, H.H. Holmes might be the one most people are unfamiliar with. Holmes was a con artist who moved to Chicago in 1885 and began work in a pharmacy. He built a building near the pharmacy that he used as his base for killing his victims, which number anywhere from 20 to 200. The height of his activity as a serial killer was during the 1893 Columbian Exposition in Chicago. The fair brought thousands of people to the city, and Holmes capitalized on all the newcomers by offering rooms in his building as accommodations for visitors. Later called the Murder Castle, the building Holmes constructed had multiple hidden rooms where he would torture his victims, whom he eventually killed. The building was outfitted with a series of chutes and trapdoors that allowed him to easily remove the bodies of his victims from the upper floors and relocate them to the basement, where the bodies were typically burned in a kiln. Number 2. Pedro Lopez. When he was 8 years old, Castaneda caught Lopez molesting his younger sister, resulting in him being kicked out of the house. Days later, he was found by a pedophile who lured him with the promise of a hot meal and a bed. One of the world's most prolific serial killers might still be out there. Pedro Lopez is linked to more than 300 murders in his native Colombia and in Ecuador and Peru. At least 1/3 of those murders were tribal women. After Lopez's arrest in 1980, police found the graves of more than 50 of his preteen victims. He was later convicted of murdering 110 girls in Ecuador and confessed to 240 more murders in Colombia and Peru. The monster of the Andes didn't even spend 20 years in prison, as he was released in 1998 for good behavior. More than 20 years since, his whereabouts remain unknown. Pedro Lopez was convicted for killing hundreds of people, mostly young girls, between 1969 and 1980. By targeting indigenous girls, who are typically neglected by justice systems, Lopez was able to torture and kill over 450 people before attracting the attention of authorities. Number 1. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy loved the attention his murders garnered him, and many in the United States were more than happy to give him that attention. The western U.S. was his hunting ground, with an unknown number of murders piling up, mostly college-age women, from Washington and Oregon all the way to Utah and Colorado. Bundy was once arrested in Colorado and convicted of kidnapping, but he escaped custody, moving to Florida, where he killed multiple times more. Bundy's final arrest and its aftermath captured the attention of the nation, as the accused murderer acted as his own lawyer during what is believed to have been the first televised murder trial, welcomed interviews, and boasted of the fans he had created. He was eventually executed in an electric chair in 1989. You don't have to be American or have been around in the 1970s to know the name Ted Bundy. Bundy is easily one of the most deranged serial killers, not to mention kidnappers, rapists, burglars, and necrophiles of all time. His modus operandi included kidnapping his female victims, raping them, and then dismembering them. He often kept their heads as souvenirs. Before he was executed in 1989, Bundy admitted to kidnapping and murdering 30 women, though this number is almost certainly much higher. Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more interesting videos. Stay safe, and we will be back soon with another video.